Thank you, Steve. Thanks everyone. Thank you for joining tonight. It is really great to be here with you. And thank you for that warm welcome. It's a good reminder to me to maybe change the phrasing on the investing in human trafficking part of my bio, because that's not slightly different. Um, but listen, I'm really glad to be here with you, and I'm going to start by saying something that I have to keep reminding myself of because it feels a little surreal. We have got less than 6 months until Election Day 2024. And that means that we have 6 months of the work that we have to do. And in 6 months, we are in one of two radically different worlds. We are in a world where we have won the seats we need to win. We have flipped the House back. We have won the Electoral College. We've held the Senate. And we're rolling right on to pass the legislative agenda that protects our freedoms and protects our democracy that we all need, that restores reproductive freedom in this country, that guarantees and secures voting rights, that ensures healthcare, climate action, labor rights, so much more for our people. Or we're in the world where the MAGA forces are back in control at the federal government, where Donald Trump is rampant, where he is weaponizing the federal agencies to go after his enemies and enriching his friends, and where basically we ourselves and our neighbors and our friends are all under attack for who we are. Those are the two worlds that we have in front of us today. That is the difference that's ahead of us. And I mean, I know you know this because you are giving up your precious evening to be here on this call with me. And because we know this, because this collective here understands that the world that we want is really, really close within our reach, and the world that we fear is also terrifyingly close, we know that it is our duty to ensure that as many voters of our fellow voters know that as possible. How do we do that? We're going to talk to them. The reality right now is that we are not in a moment when the vibes are working for us. I don't think I'm like breaking any news when I say this, right? People are tired, they're worried, they're disengaged. Our voters, people we need, some of them, according to the polls, according to the studies, they're feeling checked out. Data tells us that they are forgetting the real horrors of the Trump administration as those days recede in our memories. That's where we come in. That's where people on this call come in. We are real people. We cut through the social media. We cut through the disinformation, the chaos, the cynicism. We deliver a real message from real people about what matters. And we talk to voters, one, about what has been done over the past 4 years, because we have made a lot of good and important progress over the last 4 years. We empathize with voters who are feeling depressed or disengaged or even betrayed, because we know there are folks like that out there, right? We give them a pathway to support this coalition for democracy, even when we are in deep disagreement on core issues. We bring home for folks the reality of what the MAGA horrors could impose on our country, what it would really mean to have Donald Trump back in office again, the threats that he could pose to all of our rights, our freedoms, our safeties. And we believe, what we really believe is that if we make that choice, if we make that the choice for folks, if we make that the choice between steady progress over the last 4 years and the real horrors of another MAGA 4 years in office, we will win, because the reality is that there are more of us than there are of them. That is why they are so focused on attacking and undermining our democracy, right? Because they know that there are more of us than there are of them. If we reach our people, that is our job. Here tonight, we have the chance to figure out what everyone is personally going to do. Maybe you personally don't really feel like signing up because you yourself are feeling a little blah, a little checked out, a little bit like, what does it matter what I do? I'm going to tell you right now, that is even more reason to sign up, because the cure for bad vibes, for feeling powerless, the cure is action. The cure is acting together. You have within yourself that power if you tap into it. If you make that commitment, whether that is phone banking, whether that is canvassing, whether that is supporting Indivisible Yolo with your resources, whatever you can do, make that commitment tonight and figure out, how are you going to make sure that this group delivers the impact that it has had every 2 years or every election since 2017, this cycle. Now, I know it can sometimes feel like an uphill battle, right? When we ground, and I want to like close by grounding ourselves in our history, because we have had a lot of uphill battles as a movement. I remember first hearing about Indivisible Yolo, gosh, it would have been spring of 2017. I think it was about meeting with Rep. Garamendi about what he was going to do to protect immigrants right back then. And I was my East Coaster self said, YOLO, that's a cool name. But if I want to ground ourselves in the history of our movement, right? In 2017, everyone said, right, that the Affordable Care Act was gone. They said that it was going to be repealed the first day that Donald Trump took office. It is 7 years later, or the Affordable Care Act is still the law of the land. 2018, people said that they could never flip the House. They said that the Republicans had built a gerrymander that was far too effective. We did it. We built the blue wave. We flipped the House. 2019, we pushed for Donald Trump to be impeached. 2020, we got an incumbent president in a good economy out of office, and then we kept him out of office against all odds. We kept the most powerful man in the world, a man who was completely committed to using the power of his office in order to protect himself. We made that man leave against all odds. Again, 2021, 2022, we passed the biggest climate package in American history. And then we turned around and defied gravity in the 2022 midterms. We're going to do it again in 2024 because that is what we do. Pundits tell the world, tell us what is possible. We go out and make things possible. That is the power of this movement. That is the power of everyone here acting together. And I'm grateful to be in this with you. So let's get to work.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Leah. Do you have time for a few questions? Does anybody have a question?
Absolutely.
Okay. If there are questions, if somebody would just put it in chat or raise your hand, and we'd be happy to spend a minute or two with Leah and she can answer specific questions. Well, I've got one for you, Leah, which is basically, right here in California, we are focused on winning and flipping the seats in California, which is a little bit different than what we did in 2022. So, but I know that with Indivisible, with DCCC, with KDEM, with the Red to Blue, that everybody is finally focused on the fact that in 2022, we saved the nation but forgot California. And this time we're going to remember California when we do it. So it's,
That's
if there's
great.
a question,
That's great.
if there's a,
Absolutely. Well, I mean, like what I would say on that is, like we did see some weird counter trends in 2022, right? Where some of the most painful losses on the congressional side were California and New York, even as we
right,
had some really big advances in the battleground states. And
right,
that was heartbreaking in 2022, but it means that we've got the battle map for 2024 and y'all are on it. And that is great to see.
right. And then, there's one question in chat, which is not the question that any of us like to talk about, but there is
Yeah.
this whole little thing called Gaza. And the
Absolutely.
problem and the elephant in that room is Gaza and Biden, and we keep reading about that. And if there's a perspective, we publish regularly in our newsletter the demands for ceasefire that come from Indivisible National, et cetera. But if you could spend a minute on helping us understand how we can keep our heads down, do the work,
Yeah.
and get over the hump of this incredibly sad situation in Gaza.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, let me just say that I think one of the things that's really challenging about talking about Gaza in a moment like this and in a conversation like this is that there's a moral and a humanitarian conversation that it sounds like you all are also very involved in through your newsletter about what is needed to stop the killing and what is needed to bring justice and peace to the region. I think what you're asking me about is more specifically kind of how are the politics of it showing up in the election right now. And what I would say is that I think there are a couple of different levels there, right? Margaret, I see in the chat, you're asking, I feel I can't work for anyone, or I can work for down ballot folks, but not for Biden. It's not an uncommon feeling at this point, right? I would say I think there are a couple of things. One is I think I've heard and I've seen some pretty ill-advised attempts to try to bring people home right now, when the reality is that if people are currently up like following what is happening and really, really deeply disturbed by it, as is very reasonable, having a conversation with them about how they're going to vote in 6 months is maybe just not the best use of time. It's maybe not going to feel like the most respectful reaction to somebody who is on a human level just deeply distressed by what they're seeing, right? And so I think right now what I would recommend, if you're talking about how do you do voter contact with people who are really reacting to and really distressed by the conflict, is try to empathize with them as humans, talk about the ways in which they can make their voices heard within the political system, talk about the ways in which we are ourselves pushing for a just resolution to the conflict. But don't necessarily kind of go hard on the like, oh, you know, do you want Trump to win conversation right now? Because that is not like, lots of people are not going to respond to that particularly well right now. Now, I think that we can still have conversations ultimately about values, ultimately about the kinds of different futures that we want to see. And some of the best findings that we're hearing from our data and message testing people out there, not at Indivisible, but our partners, is that what's working right now is contrasting the different futures, right? Not saying President Biden is going to win and we're all going to go party at his inauguration, but saying this is the future where there's progress, where there is, you know, more for our families, where we have more, our government delivers more for us. This is the future of theirs. It's corruption, it's chaos, it's cruelty. Which of these two worlds do you want to live in, right? And so taking it out of the realm of the personality of Biden versus Trump and putting it into the place of values and policies that the two parties are offering to each other.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, any other questions in chat? No, I think that's the main ones. And so we really appreciate you coming today. And I think we're going to pivot now to talk about what our role is in winning the blue trifecta, because we come from a very unique spot here in Northern California, near the Central Valley, which is ground zero. So I'm going to pivot over to that conversation and we'll get started with the presentation.
And a big thank you to Leah, who may need to leave soon. Thank you so much for coming. We are so happy you were able to join us.
Thank you
I can still
all.
see daylight out my window, so it's only 7:15 for us. But thank you.
Thank you all. It's great to be here. Good luck with the kickoff. Everybody, dig deep, sign up. Have a good night.